He was dining with a very pretty girl. The girl chatted with him, her face lit up with smiles, while he leaned back slightly, one arm casually draped over the chair. Then he tilted his head up and shot me a look that was hard to read. He stood out even more than before, and had only grown more roguish. I smiled and waved at him to say hello, but he just curled his lips into a faint smirk, his eyes darkening as he turned his face away. Tom looked over his shoulder and asked who he was. "That's a neighbor's kid from when I was little," I said. "He was so well-behaved back then, but he's only gotten more arrogant as he's grown up." We joked about it a little, then went back to our meal, chatting and laughing. Halfway through, I got up to go to the restroom. I'd taken only a few steps when I noticed Owen and the girl had already left. When I came out of the restroom, I looked up, and there he was again, leaning against the wall in the hallway ahead, head bowed as he lit a cigarette. Owen stood straight, his profile sharp and handsome. With a cigarette clamped between his lips, he lit it, his facial contours fading in and out of the swirling smoke. Then he lifted his dark eyes to meet mine, one eyebrow quirked, exuding laziness and playful mockery. "Boyfriend?" The simple 3 words came out of his mouth with a hint of careless laughter, his tone casual. I snapped back to my senses, nodded, and smiled. "Yeah, I thought you'd already left. We haven't seen each other in so long. Don't you think it'd be rude of me not to say proper hello, yeah?" He flicked his eyes up, his narrow gaze teasing, half smiling. "Of course not. We already said hello earlier, didn't we?" I smiled, glancing around. "Did your friend leave?" Owen didn't answer. He just stared at me, his eyes dark and deep, then suddenly said, "You're really happy, huh? You've been smiling this whole time, smiling when you played the piano, smiling when you ate, even smiling now while we talk. Is that a problem?" I thought he was being ridiculous. Smiling isn't a crime. Does that bother you too? "Yeah, your smile's making me feel kinda uneasy." Owen's tone was flat, his eyes tinged with sarcasm, and the corner of his mouth lifted in a lazy, roguish smirk. I frowned. "You're out of your mind. That sweet, well-behaved kid from back then, who would have thought he'd grow up to be like this?" I didn't want to deal with him anymore. I stood up to leave, but as I walked past him, he suddenly grabbed my arm. "What are you doing? Let go." He was tall, and strong too. He pulled me into his arms, and the hand holding his cigarette moved back slightly, like he was avoiding burning me. "Nothing. Just be careful, sis." His low laugh was lazy, so lazy it bordered on careless. That's when I realized I'd been standing in the way. A man behind me had been so focused on his phone call that he'd almost bumped into me. The man, still holding his phone, waved awkwardly in apology and walked away. I felt a little embarrassed too. I turned to Owen and said, "Thank you." Owen chuckled. "Is that all? What else do you want? Was it okay for you to snap at me like that just now?" "I'm sorry. You practically tore my heart out with your words. Do you think sorry is enough?" "Owen, you're being ridiculous. Is this really necessary?" I frowned again, my voice sharp with a hint of rebuke. "Of course it is. You love smiling so much, don't you? Why can you only smile at everyone else, but act like this toward me?" He lifted his eyes, his tone flippant and lazy. I froze for a second, then felt a surge of anger rise in me. "Watch your mouth. Have some decency, will you?" "Oh, you're the decent one. Keep pretending. Should we give you an award? Model of morality, or something?" That day, Owen and I bickered back and forth in the restaurant. It was the first time in my life I realized a guy could be so sharp-tongued. He was truly a rude, ungentlemanly rogue. I was so upset I cried. In the end, Tom heard the commotion, came over, and coaxed me away. Our relationship turned completely sour later, when I found out we actually went to the same university. Word had it that this famous younger student, Owen, was at a dinner party once, when the topic turned to a few upper-class women in their junior year. During the chat, one guy mentioned my name, saying, "Senior Charlotte is not only low-key, but also pretty and has a great figure." Owen, however, just lit a cigarette and said in a casual, indifferent tone, "Big breasts, empty head." When I heard about this, the full story went like this. Someone at the table joined in the teasing, grinning and asking him, "Having big breasts isn't a flaw. The real question, can you fix being empty-headed?" He flicked his eyes up and chuckled, "Yeah, drink more yogurt to nourish it." That year, on my birthday, I received a delivery of 100 crates of oatmeal yogurt at the school gate, sent by a truck. The sender was Owen. I had never hated someone so much in my life. When I called him to confront him about it, he let out a sneer on the other end of the line and said lightly, "There are trash cans by the road. Just throw them away if you don't like them, sis." He was truly awful. Thankfully, not long after that, he went abroad to study. 5 years passed in the blink of an eye. We had no contact at all during that time. Who could have imagined that 5 years later, when he returned from abroad, I would have become a nun? Compared to before, Owen had toned down much of his sharp, aggressive edge. His shirt was crisp and neatly pressed, his eyes calm and unruffled. He exuded the composure of a grown man. Only that half-smiling look in his eyes, that unreadable glint, was still just as annoying as ever. We didn't speak to each other at the banquet. But before I left early, I deliberately glanced back at him, leaving him with an equally unreadable look. He arched an eyebrow. Later, I drove away. I hadn't gone far when I pulled over to the side of the road. The car stereo was playing the viral opera-style song Nan K. Just as the lyrics, putting on heavy makeup, the show is about to begin. All the joys and sorrows on stage are sung by me alone filled the car. The passenger door was suddenly pulled open. With a long stride, Owen got in. The mature and composed Owen from the banquet seemed to find the car stuffy. He casually tugged at his shirt collar, a hint of his old defiance and frivolity returning. Then he curled his lips into a lazy, careless smile. Master Jingyin, you're a nun. Listening to a song like this, your six senses are far from pure. I shot him a glance and pressed the accelerator to drive off. Hey, where are you going? I just came out for a walk. I have to go back later. Slow down. Are you crazy? You have the Buddha's blessing, but I don't. The car stopped at the outer ring of Jushan Scenic Area, near Daoqing Temple. I'd been speeding the whole way. The place was remote, with no street lights nearby. The neon lights strung on the trees in the distance were dim yet dazzling. When I slammed on the brakes, Owen almost hit his head. He cursed, shit. I leaned against the steering wheel and burst out laughing until tears rolled down my cheeks. Owen frowned. Under his messy hair, his eyes were wary. Are you really crazy? I have no grudge against you, don't you dare harm me. And I wasn't the one who forced you to become a nun, either. Shut up. You're the one who's crazy. Not crazy? Then why did you bring me to a place like this? What do you want? To settle a score. What score? Owen leaned back slightly, regaining his casual arrogance. He even rolled down the car window and clamped a cigarette between his lips. I don't owe you anything, okay? The score for the 100 crates of yogurt. You're a nun now, and you still hold a grudge over that. Of course I do. I heard later someone asked if you liked smart girls, and you said no, you liked girls with big breasts. What's the point of talking about this now? The point is, Owen, during my 3rd year of high school, there was a period when every morning when I got to school, there was a carton of oatmeal yogurt on my desk. It was you who put it there. Yeah, it was me. You liked me. Correction, it was back then that I liked you, not now. His right hand rested on the car window. He flicked the ash off his cigarette, then turned to look at me, a half-smile playing on his lips. Besides, you never liked me anyway. You knew I was the one leaving the yogurt, but you'd just toss it in the trash with a straight face every time. Such a waste. You're wrong. That wasn't a waste. I just didn't like drinking it anymore. Owen's hand holding the cigarette froze for a moment. I let out a soft laugh. Back when I used to visit my grandpa's house, everyone in the family knew I loved oatmeal yogurt. My uncle would take me to the supermarket, and we'd fill the cart with it every time. After they passed away, I never drank it once. So what's the point of telling me this now? Owen stared at me. Missing out is just how it goes. Besides, you found someone you liked later anyway. Having bad taste is your problem. You can't just come running to someone like me now that you're having a hard time. He didn't finish his sentence. I leaned toward him. Owen froze, leaning back instinctively. He cursed under his breath. I'm not into nuns. I smiled. When I was just inches from him, I reached out and took the cigarette from his hand. Then I sat back, took a sharp drag. His expression turned strange. You even dare to smoke? Your Buddha is watching from heaven, you know. I exhaled a slow smoke ring, then stubbed out the cigarette. I looked up at the sky outside the car window. He is watching. That's why I want to be reckless. Dare you join me? Dare me to what? You said you like girls with big breasts, right? Wanna see? Owen cursed again, his voice dropping as he stared at me. Don't think I don't know what you're up to. Now you suddenly remember me? I'll say it again, I'm not into nuns. Oh, I get it. Leave then. I shot him a glance, my hand resting on the steering wheel, and slowly curled the corner of my mouth. Don't overthink it. My dad forced me to become a nun, I just want to get back at him. It doesn't matter who it is. As I spoke, I looked up and gestured toward the road ahead. Turn right at the next intersection, go a little further, and you'll reach the park. You can get a taxi there. I won't drive you. Owen gave me a dark, intense look, then opened the car door and got out. The surroundings were silent and pitch black, with only the car's headlights cutting through the darkness ahead. I watched him walk forward, his figure tall and slender. At the same time, I silently counted in my heart, 1, 2, 3. When I got to 7, he turned around. Backlit by the car lights, he frowned at me. I stared back at him. In the end, Owen walked over, reached the car door, pulled it open, and dragged me out. You tricked me out here, put lipstick on, then told me it doesn't matter who it is? He was growing agitated, his thick eyebrows knitted tight. His grip on my wrist was strong, bordering on painful. That's not lipstick, it's lip balm. My lips were just dry. Is that so? I think it's not your lips that are dry, but your pride that's unyielding. The road was deserted, with neon lights flickering on the trees. My Buddha was watching. Owen pinned me against the car. We were inches apart, yet his eyes and brows held a cold edge. Like you said, you just want revenge. I won't help you with anything, and I won't make you any promises. Little brother, you're overcomplicating it. I don't want anything from you. I smiled and leaned in to kiss him. He grabbed my waist, cursing under his breath. Not here. Get back in the car yourself. On the eve of the Ghost Festival, I received several groups of more family members who came to burn incense at Daoqing Temple. The first was my father, Mason. As a wealthy tycoon, he preferred to come and burn incense alone. In the past, whenever he visited, the abbot would personally accompany him in worshipping the Buddha. Since I came to Yunli Nunnery, this task has been assigned to me. He bowed 3 times upon entering the hall, held the incense and chanted 10 times. His devotion was profound. In the hall of Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva at Daoqing Temple, there were also memorial tablets for my grandfather's family, commemorating their souls. Every time he came, he would definitely go to pay his respects. My father often said that his early days of starting a business were really tough. He first met my mother because he went to the building materials factory run by my grandfather for a business deal. It was an extremely hot summer. He was so hot that he almost fainted. He drank several ladles of cold water directly from the hand pump in the factory. My mother was stunned when she saw that. Later, when they started dating, he was determined to build a successful career to be worthy of her. He learned the building materials business from my grandfather, spent years on the job, and endured all kinds of hardships. Once he mastered the ropes, he started his own factory and founded a company. My grandfather gave him a lot of help and greatly admired this capable, ambitious young man. When his business picked up, he married my mother. Later, as the company got on track, it took on many projects. He was out early and back late every day, with endless drinking parties to attend. In the business world, it was common to treat clients to places like foot massage parlors. After a while, my mother began to grow suspicious, and arguments broke out between them. Not long after I was born, they had a severe marital crisis. They almost got divorced. My father said, "You're not like your mother. Your grandfather was wealthy, and he only had 2 children, your mother and your uncle. But my family was ordinary. We had many younger siblings, and we were so poor we could barely afford to send a few of us to college. Your 3rd uncle and your eldest aunt were also good students back then, but the family had no money. They had to drop out of junior high and go to work. I was the oldest. I had to lead them to a better life. There was no other way out for me. Your mother always fought with me over trivial things. After so many fights, even your grandfather and uncle started complaining. They always thought my family was like pheasants flying onto a branch, that we were taking advantage of your mother. When she wanted a divorce, I agreed. But when we got to the Civil Affairs Bureau, she backed out. It was an endless cycle of trouble. I met Aunt Ava outside, and I'll admit I wronged your mother, but I never wronged your grandfather's family. When your uncle's business failed and his family hit hard times, it was me who helped them through it all. Dad did everything he could. Back then, your mother was traumatized. And when she found out about Aunt Ava and your younger sister, she insisted on getting a divorce. Mason talked at length, and finally he said, "It wasn't until I reached this age that I realized, each person's life has its own karmic ties, its own blessings. All depend on one's own cultivation. There's no inherent misfortune in life, every suffering has a cause. So, one shouldn't cling to things that don't belong to them." I twirled the prayer beads in my hand quickly. Ba, you're absolutely right, benefactor. A few days later, my cousin from my 2nd uncle's family, and 3 cousins from my eldest aunt and younger aunt's families, 4 of them in total, came to Daoqing Temple to burn incense. They wore plain white dresses and cheongsams, with long hair draped over their shoulders. Their faces were lightly made up, and they carried themselves with elegant poise. Oh, they even brought a professional photographer. In the glow of the setting sun, against the temple's yellow walls and the dining hall, they posed, some holding Buddhist scriptures for photos, others burning incense or sipping tea. They looked ethereal, as if untouched by worldly concerns, embodying a Buddhist-inspired aesthetic that blended piety with subtle charm. In the end, they beamed as they flipped through the photos, discussing which ones to post on their social media accounts. Only my cousin Linda spoke little, looking preoccupied. So I asked, "Linda, what's the matter?" Before my cousin could speak, my eldest aunt's daughter piped up first. "What else?" "She got her heart broken, that's what." "Stop talking nonsense." "Who's talking nonsense?" "You had a crush on him, even asked around about him, but do you even stand a chance? He's back to marry Sophia, you know." "I didn't have a crush on him. You know whether you did or not." "How silly can you be? Isn't Sophia your classmate? What kind of family background does she have?" "Her whole family's in politics, and her uncle's even a top leader. Would Owen look twice at you?" "Ugh, leave me alone. It's none of your business. Why do you have so much to say?" By the time they left, bickering and arguing, it was already dark. Just then, I noticed an unread message on my phone. It was from Owen. He said he'd drive over soon and asked me to go out to meet him. Men are such hypocrites, saying they're not into nuns, yet keeping coming back to me, time and time again. We'd met countless more times after that, on the outer ring road of the scenic area. We shared a single cigarette. Inside the car, the familiar smell of tobacco mingled with the scent of incense from my monk's robe. His hand rested on my waist, and he chuckled softly, a gesture so practiced. Aren't you supposed to be vegetarian? Doesn't seem like it's made you any thinner. I smiled. You like skinny girls? Nope. I like you like this, crazy. Under the dim car lights, his gaze was playful and bold. I asked him, aren't you afraid of the gods? There are no Buddhas in this world. It's only when there are too many demons in people's hearts that gods appear. Then he pinched my cheek and asked if there were any demons in mine. I nodded honestly. Yes, many. He laughed then, a bright, unguarded sound. Leaning down, he whispered in my ear, sister, then let's go to hell, together. Then let the Buddha watch. He's not afraid, and neither am I. The carnival before descending to hell should be more thorough. I put on a coat over my monk's robe, pulled on a bucket hat, and applied lipstick. Owen took me hiking, to night markets, and to the central square to watch elderly ladies dance. In the park, when the musical fountain spurted upward, I ran around its center, screaming and dodging. Water jets sprayed everywhere, soaking me through. Owen came to pull me out. His hair was damp, clinging to his forehead. I laughed unrestrainedly and told him I didn't care if my hair got wet, because I had no hair at all. Then he laughed too, just as freely. He flicked his eyes up at me. If you had hair, you wouldn't be throwing yourself at me like this. I was wrong. Actually, Owen hadn't changed a bit. Deep down, he was still that vile, arrogant boy. People like him, we should have never crossed paths. But now, we were fooling around together, sinking into degeneracy with such ease, such abandon. He said I was taking revenge on my dad, but he was different, he was taking revenge on me. I didn't understand what he meant at first, until the day he took me to a high-end restaurant for steak. There was a piano in the restaurant. He looked up and gestured for me to play. I smiled and refused, but he insisted on pulling me over, specifically asking for the Blue Danube. The piano's surface reflected a woman's figure, in a camel-colored long trench coat, with short hair grazing her ears, bright eyes and white teeth, a smile that held subtle charm. Who would have known this was a nun wearing a wig? Once again, the nun played the piano. The melody of the Blue Danube flowed from between my fingers, just as skillful as ever. When I finished, I was surprised to spot Tom in the restaurant. He stood up with my younger sister May, both staring at me in shock. Then, under everyone's gaze, Owen smiled, lazy and provocative. He tilted my chin up and kissed me.